A very surprising thing for me to learn when I became a young adult was the fact that a lot of people hate musicals. First of all, I myself don't necessarily love musicals. I've been a part of 5 stage musical productions, but I'm not really crazy about them. To me, they've always been fine. They're there, they're okay. I was neutral about them. So imagine my surprise when I found out that there were people, plenty of people actually, who actively genuinely hate musicals. Because, well, why? The number one reason seems to be that they find musicals to be unrealistic and ridiculous. They find the singing goofy and distracting. And to that I say, well, I love superheroes, but isn't a man in a cape and underwear flying around also ridiculous and unrealistic? Don't even get me started on the bug-themed ones. Anyway, if you hate musicals, there's no help here. You will probably hate Wicked. But if you love musicals, then you will probably love Wicked. And if you're just like me, someone who just loves good movies, then you will probably love Wicked too. I laughed, I got scared, I cried. This movie took my heart and made it jump and crushed it. Because honestly, what a pleasant surprise this movie is for me. Despite my openness to musicals, the first trailer they released for this film didn't exactly give me high expectations. I was curious, especially because I thought the casting for Elphaba was really strong, but they released the first trailer and the whole muddy brown look of the movie didn't really inspire my hype. And can you blame me? It's baffling how visually bland it looked, and still looks in the actual movie, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah, I honestly thought this would be like a Madame Web, Morbius-sized type of disaster. But I was wrong, and I'm glad. Wicked is one of the best films of the year, and it's shaping up to be one of the biggest movies of the year too, so hello, let's celebrate that. This is Witch Atlas, and welcome to another video. By the way, sorry if I sound weird in this video. I was fever-ish when I was recording it. Wicked is a musical film based on a stage musical, which in turn was based on a book. The musical was a huge hit, so now they've turned it into a movie. At its core, it's a story about what it means to be good and what it means to stand up for what is good when you're living under a powerful, abusive system. It's a story made more intimate and tangible by manifesting itself through the friendship between its two leads, Elphaba and Galinda. Let's get into it. Please be warned, there will be spoilers. For a bit of a background, I'm familiar with Wicked, but I never saw the stage musical. I act in theater productions, but they are humble theater productions. In Wicked, the stage musical is like a world away. I could sell everything I own and I probably still wouldn't be able to afford a ticket. But yeah, I'm familiar with it because it's so huge, iconic, and popular. Sorry, I couldn't resist, hit me with a car. I know that I read the plot summary when I was in high school. I read like the Wikipedia summary of the plot, but that was 10 years ago now, so I don't really remember much, so I kind of went into this not knowing a lot. Idina and Kristen's original recordings of Defying Gravity, Popular, and For Good are burned into my mind though, so I had a clue about where the plot was going just based on the lyrics of those songs. But that's it. Besides all of that, I knew nothing. First, the story. And wow, what a powerful, powerful story. Right off the bat, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande? Huh. Once you see the film, it's almost impossible to imagine it with any other actors. I know there's like a list of people who auditioned for these roles circulating online, and while some of them are like competent choices, once you watch the movie, it's like, yeah, no, it wouldn't have worked if it weren't these two. I expected Cynthia and Ariana to be good, but even when I expected them to be good, they ended up being better than I could have imagined. I was blown away. We'll talk more about them in a bit. I just have to hand it to the actors, and of course, especially the writers, because they delivered and did this story the justice that it deserved. I love me a good story about friendship, and Wicked has one of the most thrilling, heartfelt, and poignant depictions of friendship in film. The trajectory of Galinda and Elphaba's relationship, going from people who had nothing but unadulterated loathing for each other, to becoming a part of each other's lives so intensely that they make each other question their belief systems and permanently change their outlooks forever. That was so well done. By the way, notice how I didn't say that they changed each other for good? Because that's for part 2. Anyway, the movie and the script. They take their time to carefully and meticulously craft Galinda and Elphaba's friendship. I know some people have a problem with long runtimes, and while I do love me my tight, short runtimes, I didn't really have a problem with the length here because most of it was dedicated to developing the central friendship. These two people are, on the surface, polar opposites. Elphaba, the fiery, outspoken outcast, and Galinda, society's glittering princess. They are very different, and yet by the end, you know it in your heart that they are the closest of friends because the movie puts in the actual work to achieve that. Elphaba and Glinda's friendship is funny, it's beautiful, and it's tragic. And this friendship wouldn't be anywhere near as fleshed out if it weren't for the outstanding performances of the film's two leads. Again, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. Yes, 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 yes. This is the part where I talk about Cynthia and Ariana, but before I do, I just want to say, if you're still enjoying this video, please consider leaving a like or a comment. I'm a small, petite, not very popular channel, and that would help me out a lot. Maybe even subscribe while you're here, huh? Ooh. Cynthia and Ariana. Again, I expected them to be good. When the casting choices were announced a few years ago, I admit I was surprised, but not in a bad way. Just really, really surprised. When Ariana was first being rumored, I thought she would play Elphaba, and I really thought Dove Cameron would be like a shoo-in for Galinda. So yeah, I was surprised with the casting choices, but again, not in a bad way, just like in a really shocked way. I wasn't like, yay, or like, boo with the casting announcements. I was just like, genuinely, what? A lot of us didn't see it coming, but after the shock of it, again, I started thinking, and well, I first came across Cynthia from Bad Times at the El Royale. If you remember that, now that was a fun film. It had a stacked cast, it was an ensemble cast. But I remember being so blown away by her performance in that movie. There's a scene of her singing there, and when that song performance ended, I had to pause, and I had to Google who the fuck she was, because I just like, whoa, it was so good. So yeah, after some time, Cynthia Erivo, Elphaba, I knew she wouldn't disappoint. And Ariana, she came from an acting background before she became a full-time pop star. I had no doubts they could do it, I just did not expect that they would do it this well. It's not that I didn't have faith in them, I did. It's just that they delivered at a level that was just like so beyond what I could have expected or asked for. They made these roles their own, and by that, I mean Idina's Elphaba and Kristen's Galinda were great, and they will always be iconic, and at the same time, Cynthia's Elphaba and Ariana's Galinda are also great and are also iconic. They managed to be faithful, but they also managed to make it so intimately unique. I'm calling it out, Oscar nominations for these two. Play the Defying Gravity sequence. I cried, by the way, so much during that scene. There's a bit in Defying Gravity where it slows down for a while and Galinda gets a cape for Elphaba, you know, to protect her from the cold. And those couple of seconds alone just broke me. Just the emotions that they had. Ariana putting the cape on her, teary-eyed, and Cynthia with that smile and that wink. Fuck's sake, man. Fuck's sake. That was a moment. It was a moment in my career that I will never forget. I've talked a lot about the emotion and the power of this movie so far, but honestly, it's also a pretty fun watch. It's not like this is just all power and inspiration or anything like that. This is actually a pretty fun movie. And that brings us to the fun parts. We'll get into the musical bits later, but yeah, the comedy in this movie is hilarious. It's my favorite type of comedy, the huge, over-the-top, stupid kind. 30 Rock is my favorite show, and the humor in this movie is not exactly like 30 Rock, but it is 30 Rock adjacent. It's a bit less absurd, a bit more playful, and definitely more optimistic. But Galinda was definitely giving Jenna Maroney vibes. Except, you know, Jenna's fully a psychopath and fully aware of it, and Galinda's a bit more sane, and she's a little less aware of herself. This is my type of humor, so to have plenty of it here, no notes. It was well done. And extra points to Ariana. Glinda has a lot of the comedy, so to be able to meet both the comedic and dramatic demands of this role, props to her. I know I already talked about friendship, but the movie has several themes. Firstly, standing up against oppressive systems, which in today's context is pretty important, sadly. Elphaba, despite it being her lifelong dream to work with a wizard, immediately rejects everything that has to do with him upon the reveal that he was responsible for the abuse and mistreatment of all of the animal citizens of Oz. Which leads us to the next theme, what it means to be good. With Glinda being good and only doing what's good and what's right when it's convenient for her and when it benefits her, in contrast to Elphaba doing what is good despite, you know, facing the consequences for it. It also had themes about meeting and defying societal expectations, once again manifested through the movie's leads, and also the importance of how you're perceived. Elphaba is mistreated because of how she looks. People completely ignore every other part of her personality and have just reduced her to being that green girl. The wizard, on the other hand, is revered and loved and deemed powerful, all because of really good PR, because people perceive him to be as such, when in reality, he's literally just like a mediocre, nothing man. There's literally a song called Popular, too, which it's delivered in a fluffy, comedic kind of way, but it's a pretty important piece of the movie's themes. We can say we don't care about what people think about us, and we really shouldn't care what people think about us, but what people think about us affects how they treat us. And, well, obviously that affects us. Perception, trickery, illusions, propaganda. Even though they come from lies and misinformation, if enough people believe them, they could lead to very dangerous and very real consequences. Such as putting an ill-qualified man into a powerful position where he could do real harm. Geez, I wonder why that's familiar. I think the movie handled its themes well enough, and it built a foundation that's good enough for the second installment to further explore. Now let's get to the musical numbers. The songs are great, they're literally from a legendary musical, so there's no surprise there, and the performers singing them, lovely, fantastic, beautiful. So yeah, I loved the songs and I loved how they were sung, but I did feel kind of let down by how the movie visually presented them. I loved everything about Wicked except the choices that the director made when it comes to the visual presentation. I'm sure there are plenty of better examples, but my favorite musical film is Matilda, the one from Netflix. If you look at the musical numbers in that movie, the ones with choreography especially, you'll notice how the cinematography works to capture the energy of the people moving. The way the shots are composed and lit, they feel in service to the choreography. It's energetic and I can feel the movement. Heck, even compare any scenes from High School Musical to Wicked. Compared to Wicked, the first High School Musical probably has like a budget of $5. But compare any of that movie's musical numbers to this one, you'll notice a pretty big difference. That's just really the weak part of Wicked for me. And it gets weird because there's a bit in the last few bars of Popular, in the last few parts of that song, where suddenly the color is better and the overall visual presentation improved. And I immediately thought, what the fuck? You were capable of doing this all along and you didn't? Why is there a muddy piss tint that's like over a lot of the scenes, especially early on in this movie? Why is there like a muddy piss filter? Who made that choice? Actually, I think the reason for this is that they were trying to make the film more grounded and realistic. The director, John M. Chu, did an interview where he said because the setting is so fantastical, he wanted to make it appear more believable. And I hate that. I don't like that. I think that's an evil, malignant choice. I think, no. The movie is visually at its best when it's embracing its more fantastical artistic elements. I don't know why they made the choice to make a lot of it look like pissy concrete. I do not like that. I do not like it. But yeah, complaining over. I love this movie. I'll probably watch it again, do a double feature for Moana 2 that's coming out next week. I don't have a lot of faith in that, by the way. Started out as a series and they made it as a movie. I don't know. I hope it surprises me the way Wicked did. And I can't wait for Wicked Part 2 next year. I hope I'm still alive. What about you? What did you think of Wicked Part 1? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What did you think of the piss tent? Please tell me in the comments down below. I would love to know. Anyway, that's it for me. I'm out.